What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Halftime with Bizzy. And for episode 97, we have Tech Girl joining us. Obviously, if you guys watch esports, you know Tech Girl from being host of broadcasts and an interviewer. And we sat down with her today to talk a little bit about her job and, just kind of what she does. And a really cool fact that you guys are going to find out about is that she was actually trying to be a war reporter at one point. So a little bit of lore that she was even surprised that I knew about. And I don't know how many other people know about it. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Before we dive into things, I just want to say everybody that's new watching this podcast that may not have known about what I do before, thank you for watching and thank you for clicking on the video. If you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to keep up to date with newer episodes, and definitely check out previous episodes we've had. We've had plenty of people from broadcast, talent members to pro players, coaches, managers, all types of stuff, and we're only going to keep doing that. So definitely subscribe and check out previous episodes. Drop a comment down below. I would really love to hear what you guys have to say about what I could do to improve, what you thought of the episode. Who would you want to see for the 100th episode that we're quickly approaching? Like all the stuff like this, I love to hear it, and I love to read you guys' comments that you drop down below, so feel free to do that as well. But yeah, we're going to get right into things. We will catch you guys on the outro. Enjoy today's episode, and definitely check the link in the description to find not only my links, but Tech Girl's links as well, if you guys aren't following what she's doing for some reason. So go do that. We'll catch you guys on the outro. Enjoy. So, the most important question I always start off the exact same way is, how did you get into Counter-Strike or even just esports in general? Because that's, why we're all here in the first place, right?
For sure. So I think my story is a little bit cliche. My dad was a huge gamer when we were younger and like a giant nerd, slightly autistic as well. Now that I know what that means and I'm a bit older, so he was like always playing the latest games, and like it was also like revealing my age, but it was back in the day where you went to the store and you bought the box, and there was like an American number you had to phone if you got stuck. Like the internet wasn't really a thing, so that was like how we got into games. But then my brother became like really obsessed with Dota when he was sort of in his teenage years. And when he got into varsity, his mates were always at our house to quote unquote study. But what actually ended up happening was that they all just bought their PCs, set them up on our dining room table. And like every weekend they were landing there and they were all playing Dota with him. He was competitive. But we shared a PC, so like I never got to play. I just had to sit and watch him. And then when he did let me play, I was really bad. So then I would get kicked off. So I spent a lot of my time watching them just play and like listening to them speak. And then some of them moved into Counter-Strike. But that was kind of how I got into esports, was like literally just watching them play. And then I started going to these events that they had. I'm from South Africa. We don't have a very big like esports scene. There was like one event a year back then in a basement of like a bigger gaming expo.
Oh, wow.
And I used to go to the basement and watch them play, and it was sick. And like they would play for mouse pads, and it was super exciting. And then they obviously a bunch of his friends got into CS, so I started watching a lot of Counter Strike. Try to play, was really shit, but still like loved the game more than Dota. Never could understand Dota to this day. I'm still like the
Yeah.
flying tree is attacking the swan or whatever. So CS sort of became the one that I was enjoying, and then as time went on, like I obviously started working and I was doing some media and like some marketing stuff online. It was in the days of blogging. So I had a blog, and I just realized there was like a lot of money coming into South African esports, but I knew that people probably wouldn't keep talking about it. Like they liked the money, but after the money, they would kind of just fade away. And so I wanted to start telling stories about these players because a lot of them I knew and I'd grown up watching and I'd grown up hanging out with. And like we had sort of, I mean, they were in my lounge almost every Saturday and Sunday, right? So I just started telling their stories. And that was kind of how I got into the working side of esports. Before that, I was just a big fan. Like that was it.
And back then to be in that position where it's like kind of just growing for the first time and it's like a relatively new thing, especially all around the world, like South Africa, Kazakhstan, like places people might not have even ever heard of before Counter-Strike thrives there. And it's really amazing to see. So to be in that era where it's like growing for the first time around the world must have been really cool. And then to be able to build, early roots in the esports industry and kind of solidify a name for yourself and be able to build on that way easier probably back then than it is today, right?
I don't know if it it was easier, to be honest, because I think like no one in South Africa was really doing what I was doing. And
Okay.
so the people, I think the players, some of them kind of understood it. The rest of them, the ones that were my mates, kind of were like, shame check Sam trying to do this weird thing. Like, we'll support her, you know. The others were like, it's just cringy, like whatever you're doing.
Oh,
And some of
wow.
it was cringy. Like I was trying to do like weird interviews and make it fun. And then a lot of people in the scene, like, I don't know, they they weren't happy that I was there, if that makes sense. Like
Really?
this is back. Well, I think back in the day when it's like the super small scene and like a lot of people have been playing sort of in this basement for so long, and then suddenly there looks to be like it's growing overseas, right? And then they're suddenly like, oh wow, like there's all this investment coming in. It is a little bit of like a pie grab. So everyone's like, oh, it's my, like this is my chance, this is my chance. And then I'm running around being like, I'm making these dumb videos on my phone and writing these blog posts. And I think a couple of those people were like, no, like you're not welcome here. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of the vibe that ended up happening. But since then, I think people have been a bit more welcoming of newbies, because I think when I came in, I sort of, especially in South Africa, it's such a small scene, like made quite a noise about how unwelcoming. I'm talking about industry people, not players, not fans. I'm talking about like
Okay.
guys, you know, like TOs and other commentators who were almost scared of new people. But I think now it's very different. Like locally in South Africa, I wouldn't say it's easier to get in, but I think people are a little bit more like, hey, let's just see what this person is trying to do and figure them out.
Yeah, and especially with how the internet is now, like in today's day and age, anybody can, just start making videos and stuff and it can catch eyes and it's really easy to um kind of stand out right now than it was, back in like the blogging days because the internet's just at such a different level than it was, you know what I mean? So definitely even still like you can kind of see like a new person comes to a broadcast and people are quick to be like, who the hell is that? That's not, every woman that we're used to seeing. It's like, what the hell? Like we can't have a new face, come to the industry. I feel like a lot of people tend to gatekeep a little bit, but
I think there is a little bit of gatekeeping for sure. I mean, I don't think there's gatekeeping now, but even now, I think in Counter Strike anyway, like we're always a bit dubious of a new face, right?
yeah.
We're like, who are they? I mean, as much as I say it shouldn't be done, because it happened to me when I started in the South African scene, it happened to me when I started doing CS like on a more global level. I do it as well. Like I'll be like when they announce like a new face coming in or a new voice, I'm always like, who is this person? What do they know? Like should they be? Where's Freya? Like that's kind
Yeah,
of always
yeah.
my go-to. So I kind of get it as well from a fan perspective. We like what we like, and we feel safe with the people that we like. And so someone new is we're always concerned about like who are they and can they do this justice. But I like to go who are they, but I don't like to do that, on an HLTV forum and Reddit and all over the internet and make them
Yeah,
feel small. I like to give someone a chance, and keep that thought till I've seen their work. So maybe that needs to happen, right?
for sure. So tell me a little bit about how you got attracted to journalism to the point where you would actually go to school for it. And then what was it that made your interest kind of shift toward being a war reporter? Because I don't know how many people know that about you, but I know you had a little bit of an interesting situation at one point in time that kind of, I think it's fair to say, kind of changed your perspective on that line of work.
You've done your research. There's like I think it's a Feed the Trolls episode, or it's a Thorin video somewhere where like that was barely spoken about. Um, but yeah, so I studied journalism because I really, really thought I wanted to be a war reporter and go to Sky News. Um, and that was my dream. That was what I was going to do. So I studied that. I was dead serious about it. And then I got a job at a radio station, and they sent me to a riot here in Johannesburg. And I arrived at the riot and people were throwing stones and I almost got hit. And I just went, no, turns out I am chicken shit in real life and this is not for me. I'm out of here. And that was the end of my war reporter dream.
And you were also in a car too, right? And they were like shaking the car, I
Yeah,
think you
they
said
shook
at
my
one
car
point.
when I was trying to get in there. So that I was driving in my little car. I still had a little Peugeot 206, I remember, and they were shaking it. And I was like, well, I'm going to die. That's what's happening right now.
That's so crazy. And you're definitely in a bit of I think it's fair to say you're in a safer environment now with your current line of work.
Well, I just sit in my little room now,
Yeah.
right? So I'm fine. Like, well, the worst I have to deal with is like some haters on the internet.
Yeah, which you usually just fluff those off like that usually is just people talking because they're insecure about themselves or something. I don't know. You see it all the time on Twitter, especially.
That's what everyone says. I don't. I struggle sometimes to fluff it off. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think everyone always goes, "Oh, you just should ignore them," but sometimes they do get under your skin for
Yeah.
like the dumbest stuff. But I mean, actually, now that you've mentioned that, I need to just remind myself every time to like go back to remembering what it felt like to have my car get shook and be like, it could be worse. Like this sucks, but this is like some dude on the internet in a room. It sucks, but like it's not as bad as what it could be. Like there are actual reporters out there at war where they have
Yeah.
to like dodge bombs and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and it's I don't know, it's just when you contrast the two, what you do now and then being a war reporter, like those are two completely separate worlds. It makes me kind of wonder what it was that made you go, okay, esports is definitely the thing I'm chasing instead of being a war reporter, instead of working radio. Like, what was it that kind of changed you onto the esports path? Like, what really made that concrete for you?
To be fair, like I don't actually think this is something I've said before. Like it wasn't really it wasn't a decision. Like it wasn't something that I went, okay, I want to follow esports now as a career. It kind of started as something I was doing because I wanted to tell those stories and then it was fun. And then I got offered an opportunity in South Africa to like do some stage hosting. So I was on stage. That was fun. It was more because I got tickets to the event and it was like cool. And then Red Eye, who has since been cancelled, but at the time, like, had sort of said to me, "Oh, I can get you some work overseas." I thought he was joking, then kind of spoke to him about it because I was a little bit unhappy in my day job, and I was like, "Oh, if you're serious, let's check it out." Not really thinking anything would come of it, and he got me some work overseas, and then I still carried on with my day job. I used to take unpaid leave when I needed to go to jobs, and then eventually it reached a point where my boss at the time was like, "Listen, you can't keep taking unpaid leave. Like you're barely here." And yes, I'm not paying you, but like, what's the point of even having you at the office? Like, make a decision. And then I still didn't make a decision for a while longer, and then eventually sort of figured, okay, let's try. But again, even when I was like, let's try, I was like, I'll do this for like a year. I have some savings. It'll just be fun while I figure out what I want to do. That was the esports thing, and then I just started doing it.
And that's got to be super nerve-wracking too to, kind of take that leap. It's not very often people get that opportunity to do that. And then to make it even work on top of that, was that like a huge like red, maybe not red flag in your head, but was that something that you worried about a lot, or were you just like, no, we're going to make this happen. If we're going this far, it's going to work out in the end.
Nah, I mean, I had like 7 other things in the back just in case. I still do. Like I'm literally running a 3D printer now because I have like a little 3D printing business and stuff like that. I'm always just waiting for something to stop working, you know? Like
Yeah.
so no, I wasn't like all in. I was like, this is fun and I'm doing this because it's fun, but I'm gonna have a bunch of other stuff happening just in case. So I was doing like freelance writing and like some freelance marketing and like a bunch of other things, some stuff locally, just like content creation, just because I never really thought esports was a job. I was constantly being like, you need to be super careful. And even now, when I have somewhat regular work in comparison to other people, I still am constantly, like I said, just always having like a backup plan because I think you have to be so careful in this industry if you go all in.
Yeah, and even if you are careful, it doesn't matter sometimes. I've talked about it quite a few times. We had Anders on about a year ago, maybe a little over by now, but he's never done anything wrong, at least to the public eye. I wouldn't know more behind the scenes about it, but he had struggles for a long time trying to get gigs, and he was frustrated about it. He's got a wife, he's got, I think, a couple kids. Like, that's a big worry to have. Even Dust, he's got like a medical license. I think he said he was working on ambulances and stuff.
He was like a
Like,
paramedic. Dust was a
yeah,
paramedic at one point. Joe. That was his thing. Like he was on ambulances, like helping people have recover from like fentanyl overdoses or something
yeah,
extreme like that. It was mental. When he was telling me that story, I was like, dude, that's crazy.
yeah. And these are people that didn't do anything wrong to be shunned away. So it's like, these are the things you have to worry about when you're working freelance. Like, contracts are typically usually event to event. It's not very often that they're like, okay, we're going to contract you for the year or for X amount of months or something. So it's always good to have your hands, on multiple different projects to just have a little bit of a safety net behind you for sure.
Definitely. And I think that that was always where I was at. Like with this, is I always thought that this job was just cool, right? Like it was just sick that I got to do what I got to do, and I was just grateful to be there. I was a bit sad in the bit, like for the first few years, because I really wanted to do Counter Strike, and I was that was always the game that I did at home in South Africa, and that was kind of what I wanted to do. And I was somewhat misled at the time by some people who were who quote unquote managing me, who kind of had different motives, had different people that they were pushing in the space. So they told me that, there wasn't opportunities for me and I needed to do other games. And at that stage I was like, well, this will be good. It's like a good way for you to learn, and like in time you can figure it out. I'm kind of sad now because in hindsight I think if I hadn't listened to them and I'd just be like, no, I want to do Counter Strike, maybe things I would have got to do that game sooner. Who knows? But also maybe it was good that I went and did other games and I got to like learn in different spaces. But that was kind of, it was always just about the experience and being so lucky to be here. I think a lot of people in broadcast don't realize, and I think some do actually. Sorry, I think a lot do, but sometimes we forget that like it's actually a privilege to do the job we do, and we are so lucky to do it.
For sure. And after years of grinding and getting your name out there and finally solidifying yourself in the public eye on broadcasts and such, when was it that you finally realized that this wasn't you coming up anymore? This was you, like, you made it. You know what I mean?
I think, it was like 4 years ago, maybe five. I needed to check. I did this one. I had a year. Oh, it was the year of the Paris Major, because I did the Paris Major, and then I got hired to do the FIFA E Nations Cup, which is like obviously one of their top ones, and then I did the PUBG Global Championships, and I was like, damn, that's like three of the biggest events in three different games. Like that's pretty sick. Like that, I think that was the moment of like that's pretty cool. Like I think this might be my job. Like that was the time I think where that finally hit.
And that's the cool thing about it too. When you have a resume that has numerous esports involved with it, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if Counter Strike wasn't a thing for you in the future, well, now you have options to pursue other things because it's on your resume. So it's Counter Strike isn't the end all be all in that sense. Like you still have esports work on your resume. So it's kind of nice maybe to think about if that didn't work out for you one day, you still have other avenues that you could travel down.
Yes and no. So like I know exactly what you're saying, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I think when it ends with CS for whatever reason, maybe I'm just not flavor of the month anymore. I stop getting hired. I'm probably gonna be done with the broadcast side of it. Like,
Damn.
yeah, I feel like CS was kind of where I wanted to be, and I think when this is done, like I don't think I'm gonna go off and try and find another game. Like
Okay.
I feel
Interesting.
like that's maybe the sign. Like maybe I'll do more podcasts or like more content around Counter Strike, but I don't think I'll do broadcasts in other esports if CS comes to an end. I think that'll be my sign that like maybe it's time to find something else to do.
Okay. And is that because, like, just the nature of the work, just traveling and prepping so much and just being on the go, go, go so often, barely getting any time at home with family, friends, that sort of thing?
Not really. I think it's actually got more to do with the fact that I just finally got to work in the game that I love. So I
Oh,
did
okay.
lots of other games before this, which don't get me wrong, like you learn to the communities are great, and you like I had PUBG Europe and I had a very long time of working together. I was really invested in a lot of the players and their stories, but it was never my game. Do you know what I mean? Like Counter Strike for me was the game that I watched. Like I know everyone says this and it sounds like I'm just like talking out my ass, but I really am a fan of the game first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like if I never worked in CS from tomorrow, I would still be watching every tournament, like and getting super hyped. So I think that for me is once you've worked in the game that you always loved, and that was the game that sort of got you into esports, and it was the game that you follow, and all of that, you don't want to go do other stuff because it just feels
Yeah.
different. Like I don't want any other game after this. Like I'll go pop in if I get offered those opportunities, but I don't think I would move to another game after CS because it would feel like the sloppy second. I'm in so much trouble now. Like I'll never be able to work in Deadlock. There you go. I've just like ruined my chances with that.
And it's like it just makes me annoyed too because it's like people are so obsessed with the skins and oh my god, we need the new skins. Why aren't they coming yet? It's like, did you guys forget why you even started playing this game in the first place? The game is fun. The game is iconic. The esport is incredible. Like the game isn't just pixels, okay? That's so much more, and I think the pixels just like override people's memory or interest, and it's just like, let's look at the big picture here, okay? It's more than the skins. It drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, but listen, I have a skins problem, so I kind of get it. When
Me
I say I
too.
have a skins problem, yeah, like I think we all do. But I think that's what the best part about it is. Like, there's so much to this game, and also like it's just aged so well, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just continued to be awesome and create these incredible moments. And like, as someone who has worked in other esports, ain't nothing compares. Like, nothing compares to a Counter-Strike fan. Like, it's just mental, and we just have such a cool group of people working in the space, playing in the space. Fans are cool. Like, even the trolls, like, people bitch about HLTV forums and Reddit. I love those places. Like, I'm there all the time, giggling hysterically, and we all are. Anyone who says they're not is lying. Like, the community just around the game is so cool, and then the game
Yeah,
itself is pretty awesome.
absolutely. So, obviously, I'm not going to ask you to give me all of the details on what you do to prep, but I just get so curious about how broadcast talent just travel around the world so frequently, sometimes back to back events. And I know the whole part of the job is watching the game, but there's so much that goes into the prepping and deciding what you're going to talk about and stats and all of this stuff. And I find that that's a really I try to do a little bit of it. Like, I'm not I'm not an analytical person. I'd like to be, but I also have a job outside of doing this. So it's really hard for me to kind of like narrow down on the analytical side of things. So when I think about myself versus you guys who are doing 10 times more, I just get super interested in like what you can say about how you prep for events and how you follow certain little details rather than maybe match results, which is like obviously the easiest thing to keep track of. You just go to HLTV and look at the match result, right? So how do you prep for events? Like, what can you say without giving away your secrets and your craft and stuff like that?
I don't have any secrets. I'm a desk host, so prepping for me is a little bit easier than, say, like a full blown analyst. But what I do, like, so this isn't even prepping for events. This is just me normally every day when I wake up, whether it's early in the morning or at some point, I'm going to be on HLTV. I go read through all the news posts. I love to go on the forums and Reddit and just to see what people are talking about, because normally what they're talking about is what's relevant and what people are interested in. Sometimes it's just a load of rubbish, but it's good to like understand what everyone's doing. So I keep up to date with that all the time. So it's like, if I also, I don't think you can't watch every event, especially now with
Yes.
DRS. It's insane, right? So I'll always go and see results from the day before. I'll go on X and see who's upset someone and what they've been saying, and then like go through Reddit. I do that every day, like through HLTV, all of that stuff. So I'm up to date with what's happening, and that doesn't really feel like work, to be fair. That's just because I love CS, so that's good. Obviously, all the podcasts, all the content, I follow a lot of that. Granted, that's always playing in the background, or I'm listening to it, or like I'll just go in and skip to the bits that I think are interesting. But like that's just like your day to day everything, which I think is like most fans, to be fair. So that's pretty straightforward. In terms of events, it's obviously going through the various teams that are going to be competing, what their form has looked like leading up to the event, which I think is always important, and who the opposition has been, because I think that's something that I'm always curious about. Because if they've had great form, but they've only been playing like tier 2, tier 3 teams, and now they're going into, say, like a PGL Astana against tier 1, there's bigger question marks. Obviously, the various stories. But then for me, from a prep point of view, I have all of those results. I have all of those interesting like facts and any interviews that they've done, interesting quotes that I think are curious. I try and watch them a little bit if I can on LAN as to like how they're interacting as a team. But then for me, it's also who am I working with? So who are my analysts and what is it that they like to talk about? And how do I find a way to like craft a story and a narrative that makes the fan really excited to watch the game, but also creates a space where the analyst in question, or the two analysts or the three analysts that you're working with, can kind of shine and do what they do best. Because I think every analyst is a little bit different in what they bring to the table. Some are very narrative driven, some are very stats heavy. So trying to find that balance. And I don't always get that right, but I really do try, like, to figure out how best to like bring the best out of them. And sometimes it means that I'm super like contrary on the desk, and I'll ask them, like, I suppose people watch and they're like, is she dumb? Because I'll say something that's completely like outrageous and goes against what they've just said, but I'm kind of doing it to like snap them into saying a little bit more, or going a bit deeper, or things like that. So like I'll spend a lot of time figuring that out and watching them on the content that they're doing or how they're interacting on social media to get an idea of like what I think they'll say, and then I speak to them as well, obviously. But that's like my prep kind of going into that, and then obviously understanding what your clients' needs are from like a TO in terms of like how we're going to position the show. What's the kind of, I never used to do this. I always used to just go in and do it my way, but I've learned now to like have a better understanding of what their tone is, how they want to present the show, whether they want a more relaxed vibe or if it needs to be more serious. So that's kind of the prep that goes into it. And then if we're going to LAN, I do try like 2-3 weeks before, eat healthy and go to gym, because living those lives, that's like a personal thing, but like living that life on the road is so like hectic living. I know it sounds cool, like living in like in a hotel, but you're in hotels eating takeout every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you work like a 9, 10, 11 hour day. You never see the sun, like that sort of stuff. So I do try and get myself into like a little bit of a healthy state before I arrive, so that at least I can deliver my best work.
For sure, because especially if you don't do that when you come back home and you're, eventless, you can get a chance to breathe for the few times that you get to a year. That could like really, reality could hit you in the face, and then you're just like, okay, what now? Like you've just been go go go. Now you can relax. Like what do you mean relax? What is relax?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's when burnout hits, right? Because you're suddenly like, damn, or like people get super ill because they've suddenly just stopped. So it's just something to consider.
Absolutely. And besides your professional work on the broadcast, while you're on the road, you also do a bunch of other things like you host the Feed the Trolls podcast, you make your own content, and obviously your 3D printing business that you're talking about
I mean,
earlier.
this is not a thing. This is just a thing I do at home. Like that's not even
Oh,
important. But
okay.
yeah, I mean, like,
But still, it plays
that's
into
not relevant.
things. It's
It's just
it's
my thing. Yeah.
yeah. So when you're doing all of this, like, the industry rarely ever sleeps. Like you guys lose a lot of time from your personal life, from your family or friends, and going and doing things like going to a wedding or going to a baby shower or somebody's birthday party or something like that. Um, the thing that I wonder is like, how do you juggle all of this? Like, I forget who said it. I want to say it was Launders, maybe. Like when you get home, it's kind of like you still need a full day to like recover from the travel, and then once you're like kind of like the jet lag's gone, you're adjusted to your time zone again. It's kind of just like a now what, and it's just kind of like if sometimes it might feel like you're sitting there kind of stagnant, just like anxious, waiting for your next event. Like I just get so curious on how you stay motivated to do all these other things that you do and how you juggle everything, because it's awesome. Like it's really, really cool.
Thank you. One, that's cool. Two, how do I do it? I don't know. I don't know how anyone does it. I think so. The podcast stuff was something I'd always wanted to do, but I suppose just didn't really have the. I don't know why I didn't start it, but the Feed the Trolls idea had been there for a while, and then I wasn't getting hired, and I was kind of sitting at home, and you fall into this like anxiety-driven trap of like, why is no one hiring me? I must be shit at my job. This is terrible. And what can I do? There's nothing I can do. Like, if you're not getting hired and you're not working and people can't see you working, there's nothing you can do, right? And then I was speaking to Thorin about it, and he said at the time he was like, well, why don't you like start a podcast, like showcase what you do as a host, and if people see that and they like that, that'll probably get you hired. And he was like, have you not got like a cool idea or something we could do? And I was like, wait, actually I have this idea that I've always wanted to like deep dive these topics. And then he was like, cool, I'll do that with you. And that was like how Feed the Trolls was born. And then other podcasts after that just came from the fact that I was like, cool, I've actually been sitting on like a bunch of these ideas that I just never really had I suppose the confidence to do. But now, damn, that worked out quite well. Let's keep going. And that was how the others came to be. And I think that all those podcasts, but Feed the Trolls specifically, was so good because I think it made me a better broadcaster. Because I got to do these like deep dives into one topic for an hour. Thorin gets the guests on, not me. So like our guests are always, I never know. He'll tell me who's coming, but like obviously it'll be like 3-4 days before he'll be like, this is our guest. And it's different. Some of them I know very well. Some of them I've never met. Like it's different personalities, different attitudes. Like, that like if we're going to have Kassad, it's just going to be the most crazy, insane stuff. Or I'm going to have like the super like analytical Nero from HLTV. Like, so you got to change up what you're going to do and how that's going to look. So I think that made me better. And I would say that's actually a lot of my prep comes from that as well, because I get a lot of like different opinions, and it made me a bit more confident to kind of have an opinion, which I think I never did before. I was too afraid to like say what I was thinking. But those sort of things and doing those, I think helps you with the mental stress of not getting hired, because you kind of come home and go, okay, cool. I'm not sitting here waiting for someone to hire me. I've still got things to do. It's a little bit stressful when you're on a job, because obviously you want to do the best you can for the tournament that you're working.
Yeah.
But then you're going back to the hotel in the evening on shitty Wi-Fi and terrible lighting, trying to record podcasts, which is like it's a whole demon. But balancing all of that, I think, and even like the business we joked about, like I have business partners, so when I travel, they kind of handle that stuff, and if they're traveling, and I'm at home, I'll do the same. But I think with like the creating content, that's just to me, that's just part of the job, and it gets. I don't know if it's not part of the job. I just like doing it.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. Like I love CS. I love talking about competitive CS. So none of this feels like a burden. Like some days I'm like, damn it, like I don't get enough time with my family and I'm working till late. But I think my loved ones and my family know that I really love this and I'm passionate about it. So I think that definitely helps, because it doesn't really feel like a job half the time. It's just stuff that I like to do.
Yeah,
That was like a very
absolutely.
long and convoluted way of not answering your question. Sorry about
No,
that.
it's all good. It's all good. One thing I wanted to touch on because you brought it up is I personally I love watching the episodes with Thorin and Kassad, and then it's just like you in the middle, and they're just going crazy. One thing I personally think about, and this is not really anything to do with this interview in general, it's just a question that I'm curious about. Do you ever have to worry about having those two guys or anything that they're talking about that might be like crazy and then your name is attached to it just because you're there? I personally, I think they're hysterical, but like, holy shit, some of the things they say sometimes I'm like, oh my God.
All the time. All the time. I don't know if you saw like the last Feed the Trolls episode we did
Yeah, I
with
watched that one.
Kassad. Oh my god, there was like a moment where he dropped a politician's name, and you can actually see me. I mean, obviously I could have edited it, right? So I probably would have cut it out if it got like if he said something completely egregious that would have got him cancelled and me cancelled for it being on my channel. I probably would have deleted it, but he said it, and you actually see me just like there's like a moment where I kind of go, oh, where's this going? And then he softened it, and I was like, cool, cool, cool. But I do think, like also, I'm gonna speak for them, and I'm not sure if I should, but I do think Kassad and Thorin and Richard and anyone, Yanko sometimes has come on Feed the Trolls as well. Like anyone that you think could occasionally drop like a Maui, a hot take, or something that like really shakes people up and upsets them. I think that they are actually super professional in how they do it. So like they know the tone of the show as well. Like they
Yeah.
kind of come on and like they know when to push it. They know when to like bring it back. They know how to like handle that in such a way. So I am always nervous, but I also know that they're never gonna like go too far, because I think that they are professionals. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, I mean, because sometimes Kassad says crazy shit, but like for the most part, everyone kind of like they know where the line is, and like sometimes they'll dip their toe over it. But I also think that what I've learned is that sometimes if you're going to have an opinion, it's not always going to be one that people agree with. Like sometimes you're going to say stuff that's going to piss people off. I randomly posted something on X a couple of weeks ago about a heroic post, and like I didn't realize how much it would upset people.
Yeah, I
Like I
think I know what
did
you were
not
talking about.
realize. I mean, I don't care. I'll say it because I posted it. Like heroic obviously posted that thing with the
The
actress
Falcons,
and
yeah.
Falcons, and it was like whatever. And I just saw everyone getting so upset about it, and I understand why people were getting upset about it. Just to clarify, I'm well aware of why people felt that it was distasteful and got very upset. But I think in the space that I was in, I just got back from Astana in Kazakhstan. It was a 30-day travel, and I did have a moment where I was like, we don't have to get like we don't have to react to everything. Like the best way to like this is clearly like an engagement bait. The best way to
Yeah.
handle an engagement bait is just not engage. And then I made a comment. I posted something which I thought was very like funny, but obviously pissed a lot of people off. Which was, I saw the tweets. I also didn't think it was in good taste, but you know what I did? I just carried on scrolling like that. You could do that too. And obviously people felt very upset because I was dismissing it, and that's not how it should be done. And there was a lot of commentary, and eventually I was like, well, there's nothing I could do. But I feel like if you don't have an opinion, or if you do have an opinion, at some point it's not going to, sometimes it is going to upset people. And that's just kind of, what the hell are you going to do? Like, try and be perfect all the time and make
Yeah.
everyone happy? You will literally go insane.
Absolutely. And it's just like, it could be something like this tweet that we're talking about, or it could be a top 20 list. You are going to piss people off. It does not matter what you do. You are not going to change people's opinions. It just comes with the territory.
Sometimes I say stuff like, and people get so mad at me for saying it. And then, like, 3 months later, they'll agree with me, and I'll just be like, okay, I remember when you
Yeah.
told me I was crazy. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but that's kind of it. You have to do that. You have to kind of, you have to own something and have have your own thoughts, because otherwise you're just a vanilla version of nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe I think when I first started out, I was so afraid of like upsetting the apple cart, or like pissing people off, or being called an idiot, or being told I didn't know what I was talking about when it came to like the game, which still happens now. But now I'm kind of like, okay, cool. Like, if you feel that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm gonna throw in a very, sometimes I throw out like an opinion that's not even mine. So, like, especially on desk, like, I'll say something that I don't even like. I love, everyone knows I love Fallen, so therefore Furia can do no wrong. But sometimes I'll stand on the desk and I'll say something like absurd about, oh, I thought Furia did this, this, and this, and looked like shit, because I want someone to reply and explain something else and like set them up that way. So, like, that's a bad example, but it's basically like I will change my opinion of something or say something else to try and get a reaction. It's actually not necessarily what I believe or feel as a fan or as a person, but it's more just to try and like change up a conversation or make it a little bit more interesting, or sometimes to like snap an analyst out of a slump, because sometimes, and like, analysts will get so focused in on a point and they'll start talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, and if
You
you
got to reel
don't
them
say
back
something
out.
and yeah, and like, if you don't want to, like, you either have to change the subject or like completely throw something random out to make them go like, what the hell? And then that kind of helps. So those are all little things that I think sometimes people watching will be like, she's insane, or I don't understand that. But what they don't realize is there's a calculated reason that I got upset, quote unquote, or said something outrageous. And we actually, I like to think I'm friends with everyone I work with. I don't think that there is people I work with who can't stand me. Maybe there is. They've done a great job at hiding it. But like, for the most part, I get on really well with everyone I work with. And we're actually all good friends outside of the show. So when we're quote unquote fighting on a desk, it's not as bad as you think it is when you're watching.
Yeah. And the thing too, the last point I'll make on this is just like, I feel like so many people are just so serious in the community, and it's just like you say something and it's just like they're right at your throat about it, like you're wrong, calling you names, all types of things. And then you just listen to guys like Thorin and Kassad, and like they dip their toe in the water a little bit, like you were saying, but they're funny, and they have, a lot of the time, I like to say, they have valid takes and they know what they're talking about, and they're bringing, sometimes it's edgy, but they're bringing humor. And I think we need more people to laugh at times, because everyone's just so serious and just wanting to attack people for what they say. And I don't know, I think Thorin and Kassad are funny as hell, and all of the episodes where they're just doing hot takes, I don't know, it creates conversation, it makes you laugh, it's a win-win.
I think sometimes they say crazy shit that I don't agree with, but I tell them. I mean, I'll just be like, what? Sometimes they'll have a take and I'll be like, are you insane? That is definitely not the take. I sometimes also, like, they'll say something and I'll just be like, I don't agree with that at all. Like, I think that you've completely, not only maybe not incorrect, but like, maybe you've crossed the line, or I don't like that. But also, what I've realized is that life is, well, in this scene as well, like, it's not black and white, right? So like, you have to kind of find a little bit of gray, and you're not going to agree with everyone all the time. I just think that bad behavior gets called out,
Yeah.
and if it's hurtful to others, but you can be friends with someone and call them out on their bullshit, or tell them that you don't agree with what they're saying, and still be friends with them, which I
Yeah.
think is something a lot of people maybe, I don't know, again, like I said this the other day, you can just scroll past stuff and not reply, and that like upset quite a few people. So I think my take on it is a little bit different, but I also think that I was, and maybe I hid this well, but I was really sensitive in the beginning to like everything anyone said just upset me so much, and I was so desperately trying to just like impress everyone, and I wanted every fan to like me, and I wanted every tournament organizer to hire me, and I was so afraid of like doing the wrong thing. It's not a fun way to live. Like, it can mess you up quite a bit. I'm much happier now, even if I get a little bit more hate online or told that I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, you're the one working the events. The people that are talking shit to you are the ones watching the events that you're working. So who's getting the
For
last laugh in
now,
the
I mean,
end?
it could change. Yeah, I mean, it could change. Maybe I don't work, and then you just like, that's the joy of this job. Like, I might never work another events, you know. So like, you just never know. But life's too short to get too tied up in all of it, I guess.
Absolutely. And this is on a bit of a different note, but I know you spoke in the past about having a boss that was kind of treated you like shit. He would say really wild things to you, and he just wasn't really nice and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, when you traveled into the world of esports with it being such a different atmosphere in terms of work, is it I don't think it would be a comparison, but is there any traits from like your previous work experience, has that traveled into your current profession, or is it like a completely different ball game? Because when I think about it, I feel like obviously you do have a job to do, but um like I worked at, or I didn't work, sorry, but I went to Blast Rivals Fort Worth about a month ago actually, and I got to go behind the scenes. I was press and everything, and I got to see how people interacted with each other. And from me, the outsider looking in, it looked like just a happy atmosphere. Like, people were there to do jobs, but people were having fun. It was an enjoyable atmosphere. People were approachable. So is it like a much more professional and like just a fun overall job, or is there like always like pressure on your shoulders as like a host or an interviewer?
So off topic, funny story about that boss. So I can't sell these internationally because of shipping issues, but I made like a bunch of custom like tickle mouse mats, and I sold them
Okay.
in South Africa. And that boss, I did this like earlier this year. I launched them, a new set. I'd done one the year before, and that old boss purchased one off my site. And
No
when I was
shit.
riding the way, so he told me, he was like, "Oh, the day that I left that office, because I walked out in a little bit of a huff, and I just was like, I resigned. Like, I quit on the spot. So I was quite rude. And he was like, "Oh, I hope you don't think that little gaming thing of yours is going to be able to sustain you. Like, you'll never make money doing that."
Wow.
And then it was kind of funny because obviously no one in South Africa had gone on to like, other than Quick Shots who moved, like no one had gone on to like work international broadcast. So I always used to chuckle because he had said that. Anyway, he bought one of my mouse mats. So thought that was kind of funny. I saw his name and I was just like, well, there you go. Like, I'll take it. Like, maybe the hatchet has been buried, so to say. But in terms of the stress, it's different. I think when you're a freelancer, um, it's a different environment. One, I think everyone who works on a Counter Strike broadcast or at a Counter Strike tournament is a Counter Strike fan normally,
Yeah.
or some sort of gamer. So that helps. Like, it does make it much more fun because everyone is kind of just as passionate and just as excited. So that helps. Obviously, you don't have, oh, I've never had someone shouting at me and getting in my face or whatever. So that's quite nice. I've never seen anyone else get shouted at. So like, I don't think that's a thing that happens, but who knows? Like, maybe it is, and I've just been protected from it and worked good shows. I think the only thing that like really sucks about our job, which we've spoken about time and time again on numerous podcasts, is we don't get a lot of feedback. So like,
Yeah.
you work for a bunch, you work for a TO and you do some stuff, and then you just never get hired again. And then you're like, well, what did I do wrong? Or like, what happened? Why haven't they hired me? But I did a podcast recently with Heku about all of this, and we spoke a lot about feedback. And one of the people in the comments was like, if I go to a job interview and I don't get the job, no one feeds back why I didn't get it. And I
Yeah.
suddenly was like, that's actually right. Like, maybe we need to let go of this whole we get no feedback. Like, they have a point. Like, no one gets feedback. So I'm going to change my attitude. Like, I'm not going to complain about that anymore because I realize that's actually just like a universal thing, no matter what the job is. But it's very different to having a really shitty boss who you see treating other people badly and who is rude and is treating you badly, and like, it's not quite the same. But I think being a freelancer makes that a little bit different. I have no doubt that there's probably problematic bosses in CS somewhere, but I don't have to deal with them, so I have a very like rose tinted glasses view of all of it.
That's awesome. And it's not very often that you get to go to a job. Like, I'm sure there's pros and cons like there is to anything, but you're a fan of Counter-Strike, you're working the Counter-Strike broadcast, you're friends with all these other broadcast talent who are just funny and enjoyable people to watch, let alone like to work with them constantly throughout the year. It just seems like a really wicked job.
It is
Maybe it
cool.
doesn't feel like a job. I don't even know.
It does sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes you're tired, sometimes you get sick, sometimes you're feeling homesick. What it like that does. Sometimes you get put on all the shit games. And even the biggest fans. I mean, there's only so much of it. Like there's certain teams that there's only so much of them that I can do before I'm like, oh, please don't make me do this team again. Um, so that like that stuff happens and it does feel like a job. But I I think for the most part we're really lucky to do this. Like we are so privileged. Like it's insane that we get to like hang out at these events, watch like you were there, so you were at Blast as media. Like how cool is it when you're like behind the scenes
Oh,
and you get to see like your for me it was like my heroes. I remember like the first CS LAN I did was this thing called Pinnacle Cup in Sweden, and like it was Fallen was there. I had breakfast with Fur. Like I literally stood next to Fur and I was like just staring at him, like in this the most awkward. And then eventually he like looks at me and I'm like, "You're Fur," and he goes, "Yes." And then he just walks off, and I was like, "Oh, he spoke to me!" Like, what an idiot. And then Glaive was there. Glaive walks past. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's Glaive!" And like, I think some of my colleagues thought I was insane. I was taking selfies with all of them. Like, Fallen, I was like, "Selfie, selfie, selfie." Glaive, selfie, selfie. Like, I need a selfie. I need a selfie. Like, because I was just like, look who these people. Because to me, those were like the players that I sort of like grew up watching. And I did it with Simple. The first time I worked an event with Simple. Like, he was standing outside, and I was like, "Oh, can I please have a picture?" And he was just like, sure. Like it is kind of weird, when it's like the broadcast people doing it, but
yeah, yeah.
it's cool that it's so cool that we get to like be around these players that we love to watch, like so freaking sick when you see Donk pop off and it's on a stage and you're right there. And
Yeah.
I just think we're really freaking lucky. I love my job, like I do, and I think we're just very blessed to do it. It's a privilege, and it's not something that it's like I said right at the beginning, like you can't take it for granted. You just have to remind yourself that we're all just really lucky to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt when I was at Fort Worth. I'm walking in the gate to go through security. All of Furious standing there, like you were just saying. Fallen was standing there. I'm just like, yo, what's up, man? Hey, how are you? And I was just like, where the fuck am I? Like, this is not even real.
It's
And
so
then
sick.
oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. And like, not to just stop them and just start talking because, they are there to work and they have stuff they got to do to prep before the game, but to just like in passing, just like, hey, what's going on? Hey, you Kindar, good luck today. Oh, thank you, man. I'm just like, what's happening? Like, it's the
Yeah, I know.
craziest feeling. Crazy.
When I was in Astana and Carrigan walked past in the green shirt, well, the green and white Falcons, and I was just like, dude, that's
Oh,
crazy. Like, and he was just like, yeah. And that was it. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it is ridiculous, but there you go.
yeah, absolutely. So one thing I wanted to ask, I only have a couple questions left, so I hope you're not pressed for time or anything.
No
Um,
problem at all. I'm enjoying our chat.
Perfect. Love to hear it. What are some things that people do too much of in the community? Maybe in general about CS, maybe it's something how they view broadcast talent, or what is some things that people aren't informed of enough?
So, I used to think that they treated players like precious little flowers. So this thing of like, if you in an interview, if you asked a player why something went wrong, or you called them out on the desk and spoke about something that they didn't do right, then you would see everyone online be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so unprofessional! I can't believe you said that. How can you say like this? This is not right. We mustn't do this. It's wrong." Or like if you said, "Hey, this player really didn't show up today and played like ass," they would. I still remember. What did I? Oh, I said that I was on a blast job with Bubski. I can't remember when it was, but I said heroic played like trash. I used the word trash. I said they played like trash. And a bunch of people got really upset on HLTV. They wrote, I talk about this all the time because it's just the best example to answer your question, and also because it clearly still lives rent free in my brain. Um, someone came and wrote this whole thread about how I had no rights to say that, and like how could I say that, and it was so wrong. And then obviously a bunch of people were like, okay, but we don't understand because they did play like trash. But yeah, she can't say it like that. She hasn't earned the right to say it. And I felt like in those instances, like people were like are a little bit too sensitive. I was like, players are paid to play. Like they make a lot of money doing this. So when they don't perform, we should be allowed to call them out. But I have kind of changed my opinion about this just because I have been introduced to the world of Russian gambling, and I've seen the hate messages that these
Yeah.
players get when they play badly, and suddenly I'm like, it is a little bit extreme. Like I get that they're professionals and they're paid to play, and that kind of, like, criticism comes with the territory. But holy hell, when you're getting sent like death threats, like,
Yeah.
maybe I get it. So like maybe I'm changing my opinion on that a little bit. Like, it's maybe they don't need me to just add fuel to the fire when things have gone badly. So I'm trying to be better about that. That would be my thing that I've sort of focused in on. But now I'm kind of I'm trying to be a better person and change the way I look at that.
And that's the one thing I'll never understand is like it's one and I'm not even justifying it cuz I'm not really about that, but hate messaging is one thing like if you're just saying like, "Oh, fuck you, you played like shit." I'm not saying you should do it. Definitely not the right thing to do. But the death threats just drive me crazy. Like how could you actually send that to someone? This is outside of esports obviously, but here in Canada hockey is like massively popular obviously. There was a goalie for the Edmonton Oilers that has moved on since, but he was choking so hard and he was costing the team the Stanley Cup back-to-back years. Like he was not in a good position, and people were sending him and his wife death threats, and I'm just like, it's a hockey game at the end of the day. Not to downplay what they're doing, but like Jesus Christ, how could you do that? It's so cringe to me.
I do think, yeah. So I mean, I think that's the extreme, and I don't understand why we do that. I suppose on the other side, the one thing that maybe does bug me a little bit about like the scene as a whole is the concept of professionalism. Like when we drop this thing about like it's not professional, or like if we're having a bit of fun and we're making jokes, it's not professional. And like sometimes we'll, I don't know, like people will be talking and then there'll be this whole thing of like, oh, that's, you can't do that. It's not professional. It's not right. And there are, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but every so often, all I want to do is be like, guys, you remember that the game we play involves shooting each other, like with guns.
Terrorists,
Like we are,
bombs,
yeah,
like
bombs. Yeah, there is a level of sensitivity sometimes that just feels a little bit too much. Like sometimes, just remember the game we play. Like
yeah.
I don't know about some. I occasionally I think, oh, I remember Apex at the major with the middle fingers, and like I thought it was cool. And also, actually, maybe this isn't CS fans. Like, I think this is just like esports LinkedIn people who would come like, "This is just unprofessional. How can you do this? It comes across so badly." And I'm like, "My guy, have you sat in a TeamSpeak before and played this game? Like,
Yeah.
if that is, yeah, I'm like, if that is what you think is bad and like not good, like you clearly have not played. Because let me tell you, that is the tamest of tame. Like those little things I sometimes like it gets under my skin a little bit. Just like the commentary of it, where I'm like, do you play? Do you know the
Yeah.
game that you're talking about? But I do think that isn't like necessarily a hardcore CS fan. I think a lot of that time that's like esports, like I said, esports LinkedIn professionals who are just trying to have an opinion for the sake of it, right?
Yeah. And like when 16,000 people are screaming fuck you and your
Fuck
name,
you, Apex. Yeah,
if
like
you're coming out with the middle fingers, that's justified. Like, give me a break.
for sure, for sure.
So, what are the hardest, easiest, and most enjoyable parts of your job overall, if you could
Hardest
put your
part of
finger on them?
I think hardest part of my job is um the lack of security, I suppose, is quite hard. We've spoken about this a lot. You never know if you're getting hired. You don't know if you don't know what your next gig is. Sometimes you're lucky and you do, but a lot of the time, like that, say you've been hired for 3 or 4 jobs for the rest of the year. I mean, I can be honest now. At the moment, I don't have anything lined up for the rest of the year, so I don't know if I work again in 2026 in CS. That's probably the hardest. Is kind of accepting that part of the job, but that is the life of a freelancer. So kind of signed up for it. Uh, you said hardest, easiest.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, easiest part of the job is just pitching up because it's sick. Like just watching the game is cool. Like that's pretty easy. Like I don't think I never thought there would be a world where someone would be like, "We will pay you to watch this game and then talk about it."
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like doesn't make waking up that tough. And then the best, I think it was hardest, easiest, and best part of the job. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Most enjoyable. Yeah. Best.
Most enjoyable is I love team walk-ons. It's like my favorite thing, and the most enjoyable part of my job is that I get to stand there and see it in real time and be
Yeah.
like close up. I get goosebumps every time. It never gets old. I get so excited. There is something so incredibly awesome about watching teams walk on and players that you look up to. Probably weird for them, but for me it's like the best. It's the best part, and being in the space where like you get to see how the sausage is made with like the cameras and production, and you can
Yeah.
hear everything in your ears. It's pretty, that for me, like watching a walk on with all of that is the best part of my job. Like that's the part that I love the most. I get so excited every time. And I used to show it on broadcast and be like ridiculously like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I've been trying to like tone it down a bit, but someone told me recently that I should go back to just being honest about how I'm feeling when I watch that. So I think from here on out I will, because those are the best moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And to contrast it too, like when you're watching the broadcasts all the time and you see all the camera work and the crowd and the lights, it looks so cool. But when you're in person and you get to see that like with your own eyes and then watch the broadcast later, like the comparison is just it's so crazy. It's so cool to see.
It's the best. Like it's just, yeah, it's very special. But I think you have to love the game to truly appreciate that.
Yeah,
Which thankfully I think everyone that I've got to work with who's been, they love the game, so we all do appreciate it for what it is. And I hope that that feeling never leaves me, because I think I'd be pretty sad if it did.
for sure. And my last question is, did you ever see yourself making it this far, and how many more years do you think that you realistically have left doing what you do?
Definitely not. No, never ever thought. Like when I got the Paris major, which I was totally unqualified to do and should never have been hired, and I'm well aware it was a political hire, but if you get offered to do the major, you're going to take it no matter what. Um, that for me was like the high. I was like, there we go, I made it. I've done the major. Like that's as far as I'm going.
And the
Woohoo!
final
Like
CS:GO major on top of that, like, pfft.
yeah, yeah. I was just like, look at me, woohoo, done. Like that was. I thought I would reach the heights of everything. Then I got Shanghai and it was remote, but I was like, look at me, like I got a second major. That's amazing. That's cool. Like that's it. That's where I'm at. Never like that's the peak. And then Budapest happened last year, and I was like, wow, look at me. And then I got to do PGL Cluj and Astana, which is like their two big ones. I was in the stadium. I got to do a semi-final, like, and then I was like, cool. Like this last one, PGL Astana, doing the Falcons Furia game.
Oh,
I was like, I've peaked. Like this is it. Like nothing in that moment. Watching that, almost crying. I was standing at the desk, almost crying because I thought because Furia was going to lose, but then it was so close, and then there was the comeback, and it was like this insane overtime in the
yeah.
second map, and then it went to the third one, and it happened again, and I was like an emotional mess, and I was like, at the end of that game, I went back to my hotel room and I was like, that's it, I've peaked. Like this, it will never be as, this is it. There will never be a moment that meets this moment. That's it, you're done. Like that was, that was where I was at that day after that game. Um, so to answer your question, no. In terms of how many years I have left, I have absolutely no cooking clue. Like that's the truth of it. I think we're all very lucky to do this job. We're lucky to get hired. And sometimes we just stop getting hired and no one knows why you've stopped getting hired. And then you have to move on and do something else. If that happens, so be it as well. But like, I don't know what the answer is to that. I also like, you never know what your own life has in store for you, right?
Yeah.
Like outside of just the game. So no clue. Can't answer it. But I've never really had like a 5-year plan when it came to esports. And that's worked out pretty well for me so far. So I rate I'll just keep doing that and see where it goes.
It's kind of sad to think about that one day Counter-Strike is going to have many different faces of broadcast talent or casters. Scrawny said in an interview earlier this year, I want to say it was at Blast Rotterdam, he said he was here for the end of CS:GO and he doesn't think that he'll be here for the end of CS2. And I'm just like, that alone, I'm just like, how can you replace some of the people that we have in the space? It's not going to be easy. I don't
I don't
know.
think it'll be easy. I mean, I think Scrawny will still be around. He's young, man. Scrawny will still be
Yeah.
going, and he's lad. He'll still be going till he's like 50. I suppose. Yeah, that's the thing. There's still people going, and then there's some people that we haven't seen again. I think that's just the nature of that's life, dude. Like that's just how it goes. But the ride is cool, and I think what's nice is if you can, for me personally, if I can leave the space one day knowing that like I helped get someone super hyped about a game, or the fact that I was part of like that Falcons Furia game and got to like feed that hype and all the craziness that it was, and played a small role in, I hope, getting people just as invested as I was. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a cool
Yeah,
story for you to have. It's a cool feeling for you to have, and that's good enough, right? Or it should be.
for sure. So that was the last question I had for you. Thank you so much for your time. For the outro, I always like to just shine the spotlight over the guests, and if there's any type of shout out or advice or thank you or whatever you might have to say to close out the episode, the floor is yours to do so.
I never know how to do these because it always makes me feel uncomfortable. So
My
thank you
bad.
for having me.
No
Thank you for.
problem.
I'm always people are like, anything you want to say. I'm like, oh, not really. I don't know. But thank you for having this chat, and also for putting up with my crazy schedule. Because like, you were messaging me and I was seeing the message, and you know what I would do? I have to tell you, because you spent a lot of time messaging me and me not replying, and I just need you to know, every time I would see it and I'd be like, this is very important, I must reply to this tonight, and then I would go to sleep and forget, and then the next day I'd be like, importance, reply tonight. And then it was like 2 weeks later, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't replied. Like,
I
I'm a
totally get
mess
it though.
now.
Like,
What
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
mad
do.
about it.
So I do. So thank you for being so patient, because you should have a couple of days after that just been like, nah, stuff this bitch. Like, we're done. I'm moving on to someone else. We're doing another interview. So I appreciate the patience. Thank you.
No problem. The way I look at it is you guys have way more important stuff to deal with. I even got to meet up with Moses for a quick minute there at Fort Worth, and I gave him one of my business cards. I'm like, I'd love to have you on the podcast. He's like, oh, I think I've seen your DMs before. And my thing is like, I don't like to breathe down your neck. I don't want to chase after you. I know you got a million things going on. I don't want you to open your phone and go, holy fuck, this guy's messaging me again. But, you know, every couple months maybe, or, you know, every few weeks I'll check in.
No, but like, just check in. Also, you made me realize that there is an entire other folder on X
Yeah, the
called
spam
like
folder.
message requests. I did
Yeah.
not know that existed. And then I went in there, and it turns out that I have lost about 6 business opportunities because I did not know. It was insane. Like, there were so many people who were like, people messaged me from like months ago about like content and about like jobs. I didn't know that that folder existed. So I just
Oh my
never
God.
replied. So if you never got a reply from me, it was probably because you were in that folder, and I legitimately did not know it existed until recently. So I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. No sweat. Alrighty, guys, that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all for tapping in, and thank you very much to Tech Girl for, you know, making this one happen. She was super busy, but she ended up lending me her time, and I appreciate that very much, as I do for anybody that I have on the podcast. I mean, I don't care if you're a pro player, if you're broadcast talent, or content creator, whoever you might be. For anybody to lend me their time, it's greatly appreciated, as I'm just, you know, trying to make a come up in the scene and don't really have an established name yet, I don't think, and I don't have like the highest views in the world, but you know, it's all a massive pleasure, and I can't thank everybody that's been on the podcast so far enough for lending me the time. But if you guys enjoyed today's episode, again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know who you want to see for the 100th episode. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. But we will catch you guys next week. As always, we are going to be doing weekly Friday uploads at 12 p.m. Eastern, so we'll catch you guys then. Till next time, everybody.